It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
In the van, we're going for our Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. If you're watching on YouTube, you can tell with how dark it is out with Alan driving. This isn't necessarily an afternoon drive. It's a little bit later. Those pesky Steelers and waiting to put out their injury reports and transaction news and such. It's more of an evening drive. But Alan, how we doing?
A little frustrated by that, but doing good. Yeah. Leaving work in the dark sucks, for sure. But I hate the non-daylight savings time. I save the daylight year round. Please bring it back. The only people that are awake at 7 a.m. are psychopaths. Anyway, I don't care. They'll be fine with being in the dark. Like, you have to, there's just, they can deal with it. They're already willing to put up with being awake at 7 a.m. They'll be fine.
Yeah. I literally sit in the same spot while I'm working, and it's typically dark when I start and dark when I start and dark when I get done. So, I guess I'm a psychopath. So I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, in general, I don't like. I kind of like the fall and winter. Kind of prefer it. It's kind of my time of year.
Same. Love the fall.
But I agree in terms of, it does kind of suck when it's like not even 5 p.m. yet and it's already dark. So this is typically, we started recording at the time. Typically, this podcast goes out. So I already can tell. We're probably getting a bunch of messages like, "Hey, what's up? Why isn't Afternoon Drive out yet?" Like I typically do when we haven't posted it before like 6:15.
Well, I did also got a bunch of messages as the Steelers hadn't put out their injury report until after 5 o'clock. I was like, "What's going on? Did the Steelers practice today?" I'm like, "Yes, the Steelers practiced today." And I forgot this until like it was 4:45, and I was like, "Where is the injury report?" When you're playing a team on the West Coast, you can delay your injury report to match the time zone. So
it's gonna be the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah, it can be the same thing tomorrow. Or Friday will be earlier. So there's that. But, yeah.
All right. Well, at least I know now. All right, let's talk about this injury report that we're talking about because there's some new additions to the injury report. Some names that we've been talking about, been expecting to see on here and have been on here. Scotty Miller with a finger, Corey Trice knee, Jabril Peppers quad, Cole Holcomb with an illness, Isaac Seumalo re-injured that pec in that game, so that was expected, and Jonnu Smith getting some rest. But the two names here that stand out to me, Alan, that were added are Alex Highsmith with an ankle and Darnell Washington with a foot. What the hell is going on here? I feel like the scene in Dumb and Dumber, our pets' heads are falling off.
Well, Highsmith, I think we all saw him get hurt in the game, right? He had that
very
play where
early.
he comes
That's
up
what that was, though?
early on. Yeah, and then he finished the game. He had already had an ankle injury earlier this year. I would assume, I didn't talk to Alex about this, but I did talk to Alex, and he was walking around the locker room fine with no shoes on. Mm-hmm. So, he's fine. This just feels very precautionary for that. I don't know what's up with Darnell Washington. I thought he finished the game without an injury. I don't know where this foot injury came from, and I did not see him today. So, I don't know about that, but, yeah, I think Alex should be fine. Mike Tomlin always gives us that line on Tuesdays. We got some guys dealing with bumps and bruises that may miss time but are going to play. I would assume that you can categorize that as both of those guys, but especially when you're dealing with a guy as big as Darnell Washington, any kind of lower body issue, you want to be a little keep your eye. It's attention grabbing, and so we'll see what happens there. But I wouldn't worry too much about Alex Highsmith.
Yeah, well, the thing with Darnell has been the knee stuff. Like the last couple of years, I feel like there's been times during the week where he'd be limited
knee and hip
with knee. So the foot's what's throwing me off. Is it being a different? But hey, I guess we've just gone down the body, right? Hip, knee. Now we're at the foot.
Yeah, I don't know if that's better or worse. I
don't know that it is better or worse. I'm just saying I'm seeing a trend here. 3 seasons we've seen 3 different body parts be limitations during practice and just something that they have to manage, and hopefully it is just that, them just having to manage it, and we do see him on game day. And then like I said, Jonnu Smith with the rest, full participation for Will Howard with the pinky, obviously, that he's worked back from, and then Chuck Clark with an illness, also a full participant. We'll see what the plan is for him now after getting Kyle Duggar into the mix. And obviously the availability of Jabril Peppers could also impact if they're able to get him back. I don't know, any inkling there as to what's like, is it possible that he's a healthy and active back to that role for him on game days for Chuck Clark?
Well, probably not this week because, it's looking like trending towards – they won't have all 5 of them active, right? Between Peppers and Duggar, Ramsey, Clark, and Thornhill. I don't really know where the pecking order lands at this current moment. We saw that Thornhill did not play at all over Ramsey and Duggar.
Yeah.
I think that's clear. Ramsey's going to start at free safety. Duggar's going to start at strong safety. Where does Clark fit in? Is it ahead of Thornhill? Is it behind Thornhill? Is it next to Thornhill? Does that make him the backup strong safety this week? I don't know. That's interesting. I guess we'll try to find out. I had a bunch of stuff going on today. Didn't actually get to watch very much of practice. Not that I could tell you about it, even if I saw. But I can't even go ask about it if I don't know what happened. So maybe later this week I'll try to get a hold of Thornhill or Clark or Peppers and see what's going on there. But, I think it's possible one of them ends up getting cut. If they just decide to keep Ramsey at safety, you don't need 5 of them.
Yeah. This is a complete guess just based off the situation they were in at safety, and for Thornhill to play no snaps in that game, I just felt like that was kind of telling as to where they're at with him. So I feel like when healthy, Clark is going to jump back in front of him. So it wouldn't surprise me if this Thornhill on the outside looking in.
We'll see.
Talk about a roster addition real quick, and then we'll go to some guys that you talked to. Broderick Martin, brought over from, was it the Chiefs practice squad? Yeah. They signed him off of a former 3rd-round pick of the Detroit Lions. Honestly, if you look at the way that the Lions have drafted recently, probably one of their rare misses in recent memory for them. A 3rd-round pick in 2023, spent 2 seasons with them, was on just the Chiefs practice squad this year. Now he comes over, spent time both at North Alabama and Western Kentucky in his collegiate career. Tuscaloosa native, 6'5", 326 pounds. And that is the skinny on him for a man that's not very skinny. But I'll be honest, don't know much about him beyond that, which is kind of odd because this is in the time frame when I started to get pretty heavy into the draft stuff. But I don't know a ton about Broderick Martin.
Same, honestly. I was pretty into the draft long before then. But, yeah, I didn't – it wasn't a guy I heard a lot about coming out. Obviously, the Steelers were not really in the market for defensive linemen in 2023, but has really impressive physical measurements. In addition to the height and the weight you mentioned, really long wingspan, which is really nice for a defensive lineman. And had a pretty high motor, too. I know he dealt with an injury in Detroit. I think he spent almost 1 whole season on the injured reserve there. And they wonder, if that played a factor in him not panning out the way they thought. It is very shocking to see a player that was a 3rd-round pick to be on his 3rd team in 3 seasons. 3 seasons later, like that is that is a dramatic draft. Like they're a draft bust, and then that is a whole different category. And so, we'll see. Again, like I said, didn't get to see much of him at practice today. He wasn't at practice today. They actually haven't even announced the transaction yet. But we'll see if what he looks like when he gets here. They definitely need some depth on the defensive line. They have lost since the start of the season Dean Lowry, and then Isaiah Loudermilk, and now Daniel Ekuale. And so I think they actually played with 5 last week. They scratched Logan Lee. Played with 5 guys. It was just the starting 3, Wyatt Black and Asasia Tomolo. And so, yeah, I think Loudermilk's pretty close to a return. So that was kind of the head scratcher there a little bit. I talked to him last week. Seems like he's, maybe a couple weeks away. But, they saw something they liked. Big dude, that's for sure. I think that's the nose tackle backup.
Gotcha. Yeah, Shrine Bowl guy mentioned the impressive measurements and stuff like that. We'll see if there's something to be said there. Honestly, my first thought had nothing to do with football. It was just, can we get the Spider-Man meme recreated? I know it's spelled differently, but Broderick and Broderick, recreating the Spider-Man pointing meme.
Well, the Steelers sort of specialize in spelled differently. They have 2 different spellings of Isaiah, 2 different spellings of Jalen. I think, and 2 different spellings of Derek on the team right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, love that for me.
Waiting for another Connor as well to drop in.
I think that might be the one I hate the most.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that you were so impassioned about the spelling of Connor, to be honest with you.
Names should be spelled the same. I don't know. It drives me nuts. But the Connor one, I don't know. The Connor one, I don't know. That one just confuses me. I get it wrong every time. Like, I write Connor, I stare at it, and then I go look it up because I can never remember.
Yeah, the first couple times that I typed it into either the tags on YouTube or put it in the description of the show, it was such a pain. It didn't want to be spelled the way that Connor Hayward spells his name. So, and I get it. So, yes. You know what? Now that you're saying it, I'm also upset. I'm also put off by the way that it's spelled. So, you got me on a soapbox all of a sudden here that I wasn't planning to be on. Anyways, all right, let's pivot and talk about some guys that you did talk to today. You said you talked to Alex Highsmith, not about the injury that kept him out of practice today, but obviously he just won Defensive Player of the Week coming off that game against the Colts, but he's got to turn the page quickly, forget about that impressive performance, and start preparing for the Los Angeles Chargers. What did he have to say?
Yeah, I talked a lot about the Chargers running offense and what makes them so good. You know, this is a team that hasn't had Najee Harris most of the year, hasn't had Amari Hampton most of the year, has been playing without both of their tackles for a good portion of the year, and is still one of the best running teams in the league. And I think that all goes back to that Greg Roman offensive scheme, which Steelers fans, you had to know pretty well from his time in Baltimore. Of course, they don't have Lamar Jackson, but it's a lot of the same stuff, a lot of read option, a lot of the things that have given the Steelers some fits in the past. And Mike Tomlin was really quick to point out on Tuesday that when they played Justin Herbert and these Chargers last year, he was very banged up. And the quarterback mobility component of his game
I was stunned that he played in that game.
He should not have, clearly. Yeah. He should not have. They put him in harm's way. And so I'm really curious to see how this run defense, which has been very hot or cold this year. I mean, a really good game against Jonathan Taylor 2 weeks after an absolute dud against Chase Brown. Like, add those two up. It just doesn't even make any sense.
Josh Jacobs? I mean, I know he was coming back from injury and we saw a lot of Wilson, but yeah.
Yeah. And Minnesota, a good running game that I felt like largely – it's been very up and down. And so, obviously the run game isn't the be-all, end-all, but I do think it's a big part of the calculus here, not just for winning this game reasons, but also for that sort of going back to the big picture and, how much time they spent this offseason trying to solve the problems that were presented by the Baltimore Ravens in that playoff loss. And sort of obviously the Ravens are running a different offense now, but to this game very much to me feels like a bit of a litmus test on where they're at in that process.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns did a nice job against that run game, obviously, and Quinshon Judkins has been fantastic. So yeah, I'm very curious as to if they're up for this task. Kamani Vidal,
I think it's mostly because it's about the scheme. It's about the scheme. They've been. I mean, Kamani Vidal, fine, interesting young player, but no one at the beginning of the season was shaking in their boots about facing him, and yet he's become a really, really productive player.
Yeah, I mean, they go out and get a guy in free agency and Najee Harris, and also then draft a running back in the first round. I mean, they tried everything to really not put him on the field.
Right? Yeah.
But I did like him a bit coming out of Troy. I thought he was a guy that could be a complimentary piece.
I thought Mike Tomlin made an interesting connection too. Is that Baltimore always seemed to do that too. It was like, Justice Hill's hurt. Hey, here's this guy named Gus Edwards, and they just seem to always have another guy in Baltimore too. When Greg Roman was the defensive coordinator, who's the guy from Penn State that came out of nowhere and had a big couple of Keaton Mitchell, right? It was just it just seemed like they always had it didn't matter who was hurt at running back. They always came up with somebody that could be successful. And when you do it that often over and over again, it's probably the scheme more than it is your ability to just randomly pick good scrap heap running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anything else to be said there about what anybody had to say? Oh, MVS spoke today as well. You told me you were in that scrum. We figured that Aaron Rodgers would largely be the reason why MVS would come to Pittsburgh. He made it seem like it was the sole reason that he came to Pittsburgh.
It's the reason. Yeah, he said he talked about coming here in the training camp, ended up taking the opportunity with the 49ers because that was the scheme. He was more closer to what he was familiar with and felt like he would be able to pick it up and sort of hit the ground running a little bit faster. And when you're talking about signing on a practice squad at the end of training camp, that's important. But said he really wanted to play with Aaron again, and said like after one practice, like I mean the ball looks the same. He's still got the arm, and the way that those guys are talking, I mean I know he's just a practice squad guy. Mike Tomlin very adamant about that on Tuesday, but I would be pretty surprised if we don't see him in the lineup. I mean, maybe not this week, but at some point here soon.
Yeah, somebody asked me today when I thought that we would see him elevated, and I said I tend to not think this week, but like if we get to Cincinnati week, I think that's very possible the following game. I don't think that he remains on the practice squad very long. I'm just curious to see how it shakes out from there. What the other wide receiver options look like when he does get elevated.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on health for other people, too. I mean, Scotty Miller comes back. You know, are you going to put Keyshawn Williams through waivers? Those are questions we don't really know the answer to yet. But, I mean, he's big. I went over and shook his hand. I'm looking up at him. There's only a handful of guys on the roster that you say that about. I mean, he is every bit the 6'4". So that's definitely something they don't have much of besides DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the inconsistent hands have been the thing for him. Like the size and speed combination, that doesn't grow on trees. I think this is a guy that would have made a lot more money and would be signed somewhere right now on a pretty lucrative contract if those hands were a bit more consistent through the course of his career. So I think he brings something to the table that they don't have right now. And I think that we will see him elevated sooner rather than later and go from there, see how much he can contribute. So help on the way, in my opinion, there, at least to some degree. Is there more help on the way? Asante Samuel Jr., who we talked about yesterday, taking some free agent visits at this point. And the Steelers are the last team on that list a week from today, time of recording this, next Wednesday, which, Alan, I guess you could look at two different ways, depending on if you are the optimist or the pessimist. Maybe give me your take on this. You could look at it like, well, probably not even going to get to Pittsburgh with how many options or how many places he's visiting beforehand. One of those teams, he's not going to end up leaving that building. Or is he going to see through all of those no matter what? He wants to see through all of those. And we're the last one, and he doesn't have any after us. Steelers team doctor did the procedure. Maybe they have the best chance to land him.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely will have a chance, I would think. I don't think you schedule 6 visits and then are going to sign after the first one. That doesn't seem like a process. That process would piss off 5 other teams for that agent. So why would you do that? Like if you think there's a chance you're signing after the first one, then you just don't announce where you're going next or what you're doing next. You keep that quiet, right? Like you just say, yeah, maybe you say there's lots of interest. Lots of teams are calling, and he's going to Carolina today, and then we'll see, right? You don't say he's going to A, B, C, D, E, F, and then sign with A, and B, C, D, F are like WTF. Like that's not going to happen. So,
well, not 6, but Mike Williams signed with the first visit out of 4 when he signed with the Jets prior to last season or whatever.
That's true. Yeah. That was also wasn't that in the 3-day window though? Like,
oh, yeah, I see what you're saying because it would have been during free agency period, like
so
maybe
like
the legal tamper.
Like in that instance, those teams are gonna put pressure on you to make a deal because they're saying like we got to move on very quickly to other options if we're not signing you. Whereas here, what's the other option? Like where, who is? There's nobody holding a roster spot open for Asante Samuel that has a better option that they're holding on to. So I don't think that kind of same time crunch exists. I think he sort of has the luxury of taking those visits. The other thing about this is, even if, say, Carolina's like, yeah, it looks great, let's offer you a contract, he's a young guy. He could go take the rest of these visits and see if somebody's going to be willing to offer him a multi-year deal to tack on a 2026 to an end of 2025 contract because they want him that badly. Like they're, I don't see a reason for anyone here to be in a hurry.
Yeah. No, I mean, that all makes sense to me. I didn't know which way to look at this. So, all right, we'll see.
That being said, I think the Steelers are generally, like, even though it's weird, the Steelers team doctors are the ones who did this surgery and have been innovators in this surgery for a while. They really are one of the ones that have kind of popularized it. They're also fairly conservative as a team about players with neck injuries as well, I would say. So, if the Steelers are really considering him, I would say that is a good sign for his overall health.
Yeah, they're obviously super comfortable with where. I mean, they would have more information than anybody else, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, like these other teams are like, what's his neck really like? And that's why they want the visit. The Steelers obviously should have a pretty good idea.
I guess just real quick, we could talk about what the addition would mean, because I mentioned briefly yesterday, I get it. You got to adjust to what your team actually ends up looking like. But like on paper, to think that we would have to make an addition to the secondary at this point, especially like a move this substantial, would have been a wild thought to have when you looked at the resources they invested into the secondary. But here we are. This is the cards that this secondary has dealt us and the condition that they're in. I think it would make a ton of sense. And I know that people are going to have questions about, like, we've talked a lot about the tackling effort or, inability to. I don't think Asante Samuel Jr. necessarily solves that problem is an upgrade from like Darius Slay in that department. But I think that this is a better player if he's healthy than the play that they are getting at that spot right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. He's not a good tackler. Wasn't a good tackler before he had neck surgery. Can't imagine that's going to make him any better. Although I will add here, the surgery was not because he had some kind of damage to his bone or spine. He was having persistent stingers, and he had same as Peyton Manning had the surgery when he left Indy to go to Denver. And so this is like
because it was a shoulder thing, right? Like
it
started out as
a shoulder initially because it was a stinger, but he kept having them over and over again. So this is a surgery to, I'm not a neurosurgeon, so I'm going to speak in very lay terms here, but kind of fix the nervous system pressure that is existing that's causing those stingers. And so it's not like he had a broken neck, something like that.
Yeah. Being that cornerback would be on the Steelers' radar, beyond this season, you just brought up, if there's a team out there that maybe offers him some money in 26, that could be a part of this equation. Do you think that should be on the Steelers' mind, or are you interested in this only if it's just as a pure rental for the rest of the year?
He's a young guy. If you think he can be good, now maybe you have like real worry about whether he's going to be the same player he was before the injury, and that's fair. But if you're confident that he's the same guy as he was before, or even close, I think a 2-year deal would be fine by me. But it's hard to say from my seat because I don't know what they know about his injury.
Right. Yeah, 100%. That's a position that they're going to be shopping for in the offseason anyway.
Yeah,
you can check that box right now.
You got to replace Slay next offseason anyway. May as well do it right now. And then, you can even work him in slowly. It's not like he has to come in and play right away.
Yeah, there is a real chance, I think, and again, we're kind of assuming health here, that this is as meaningful as an addition as they could. I mean, they couldn't have made a better addition than this at the trade deadline if this ends up coming to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Sauce Gardner, was there one other corner traded? Like, was that it? I mean, it wasn't like there was a lot out there.
You mean in general, or just
over the
whole
league? Yeah, I think there's only one. The Saints traded somebody, but not like one of their top guys. If I remember correctly.
And like Michael Carter from the Jets was traded earlier. Yeah. So,
but not. I mean, I think him and Michael Carter are actually pretty comparable players. Like that's the kind of upgrade you'd be thinking about making there. So, look, I think if you can do what you did last year and find some depth at positions of weakness, and you do it by signing MVS and Asante Samuel, and you don't trade any draft picks away to get it, that should feel like a pretty big win. I understand that for some reason the fan base is still very angry about this and does not see that as a very big win. But
Kyle Duggar. I know it didn't happen on the trade deadline day.
Right? I mean, and that was a very good trade for a very obvious weakness.
So we'll see if that comes to fruition. I'm certainly rooting for that one. That's a player that I've long been a fan of. We'll get to a question here from Alex Brodsky, who's been in the community for a while. We appreciate you, Alex. Hey, Alan, curious your thoughts, maybe even a pod topic here. Do you think our edge rushers actually perform better against elite offensive tackles than weaker ones? Thinking here is that teams with great tackles are more willing to leave them on an island, trust TJ and Highsmith to win those one-on-ones, even though the talent's better. But when teams know their tackles are a weakness, they're more likely to use chips, doubles, tight end help to slow the edges down. With Joe Alt out, wondering if we'll actually see more double teams, fewer clean matchups this week, potentially leading to worse edge performance than we just saw or would see if Joe Alt was in. Does that idea have any merit, or am I totally overthinking this?
I think it depends on the team and like what they have around that particular strength or weakness. Like if you have a really good offensive tackle, but an overall mediocre offense. Okay, like, I'm trying to think of a team that fits the bill of, and I'm struggling right now.
Did you say elite tackles, but bad?
Yeah.
Or tackle,
or at least one elite tackle.
I mean, it kind of feels like I know that they're super young. Kind of feels like the Jets are trending in that direction. They've been pretty good offensive line play.
I could see that.
Who else is up there? I don't know. I'd have to.
San Francisco has an elite tackle, and the rest of their offensive line is just okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're San Francisco, I think you look at the rest of your line and say, we have to give these guys so much help that Walter's just got to go handle his guy. Like we can't, it's just got to be one-on-one over there, and we got to help the rest of these guys because they struggle. I think if you have an offensive line that is of overall high quality, that has a high player, then I think you are less likely to do that. You have one good player, but it's one good player on an entire good offensive line, then I think you're more likely to take the sort of standard game plan approach against the top edge rushers. So I think, and then conversely, very similarly, if you have a weakness, we got to start a backup against the Steelers, but the rest of your offensive line is very good, then you're definitely going to give that guy a lot of help, right? Like if the Brown of the games where the Browns like started James Hudson, right? Like and they had Pochich and Teller and Batonio and those guys were all really good. Like they were able to give that one guy who stuck out a ton of help. But if you have a backup on an offensive line that overall just isn't very good, like you can't afford to give any more help because you're already needed everywhere else. So I think there is some truth to it, but I think it really depends on the context of what's going on around the rest of that team.
Another example would have, Laramie Tunsil on the Texans, right? For all those years was the only good player along that offensive line. So yeah, that's the one that would come to mind for me there. I mean, Alex definitely got my mind going with this one. They are got like TJ and Alex both. I mean, throw Nick Herbig in there. Those are guys that I trust to win their matchups, regardless. I mean, even if teams are providing chips and giving additional resources there, the Steelers are still, I think, because of a couple weeks with not much production, people were kind of like writing off the Steelers pass rush. Those guys were still winning pretty quickly. It's just the ball was already out of the quarterback's hands. Like they're still at like the 7th fastest pressure rate, or quickest pressure in the league. And it didn't matter because the quarterback was getting rid of the ball so quick.
Yeah, and even against the Colts, Daniel Jones is still getting rid of the ball really quickly. It just wasn't.
Yeah, what was it like 2.6 instead of the 2?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like that's not at all slow.
Right. It's just not 2 seconds. It's flat. Yeah. So, I get it. Good stuff. We appreciate the question, not only from Alex, but all of you guys. We got actually a good bit in the bank here to work through on the YouTube. We got one more day to do so before we get to the predictions and preview, obviously, on Friday of this game, which we look forward to. But we'll be back here tomorrow. Until then, Alan, tell the people they can find you.
Hey, Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH, Steelers Now, site's account, SteelersNow.com. Go there to read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus, and you get the words with no ads, which is way better, as our guy Ed said yesterday. Way better without the ads.
Way better.
And you also get all the best stuff from me, DB, Brandon, the rest of the Steelers Now team. Notes from the road coming up on the way back from LA. And then, again, a subs-only live stream for the month of November. And always, if you're one of our Plus family here, and you got an idea, something else you want, always looking for more ideas for Plus content. I don't want to take anything that we're kind of already doing and like start to make people pay for it, if you get what I'm saying. But if you ever got an idea for something else, something that's not already on the docket, hit me up. Let me know. Always looking for those. And then, of course, anyone can like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here in the YouTube channel as we continue to grow this show and all the rest. Joe Morrison tonight, 8 p.m. live here on the YouTube channel. As we grow this show, all those shows into a bigger and bigger audience. So, where are we at? On our quest to 17? Yeah,
I'm pretty upset actually about this number because I had a player in my head when I was looking before we start. We got 2 subscribers while we were recording this podcast, which I'm not upset about that. I'm just upset that I had a player in mind that I was ready to shot at and now can't because we are at 16,900, and boy, we were just talking about, I don't like to use current players. We have been talking about Alex Highsmith. It's on 56. Who else besides Woodley? 56. So what I was upset about was I had LJ Fort in mind for 54.
It's a good one.
That's what I was upset about.
56 is kind of difficult. I'm not going to lie. I'm having a hard time thinking of another one.
There's got to be somebody in between those two, and I'm sure before Woodley, but
Anthony Chickalo, C56.
Yes, yeah, he was. That's who it was in between. They just had. I swear to God, somebody was wearing 56 though this past weekend, celebrating the Super Bowl 40.
Oh well, Chucky and Kobe.
I think so.
Center. Chucky and Kobe, and now I'm sure you were not aware of this.
Oh,
quite young then.
So Chucky Kobe's correct. Man, Mike Vrabel.
I was thinking there was a white edge rusher, and I just couldn't think of who it was. And I ended up getting to Chickalo, which ended up being correct, but that wasn't the guy I was initially thinking of when I thought of it. And Vrabel had 2 numbers. He started as 56, and then I think he changed to a 90-something. 94, okay. Maybe it was 96. Yeah, it's a good one. But Chucky Kobe, after the Steelers won the Super Bowl, made like a rap song. And much to his credit, my general opinion is that nobody wants to hear athletes rap. Normally, usually it doesn't go well. But he just made the song about winning the Super Bowl. And so it's very good. Not like actually good, but like for a Steelers fan, it's worth a listen. And now I can't remember the name of it. But if you Google Chucky and Kobe Super Bowl rap song, you got to find that one. Chucky also, I think of Nigerian descent. His first name is like 9 syllables. Chucky is just like the first 8 letters. So he's got that going for him as well.
Oh, yeah. So I just Google searched. I'm not gonna try to pronounce this because that's
Chukwunweze or something like that. I don't know. That's a guess.
That's what it looked. That's how it looks like. Yeah, it starts off like Chukwuekorfor's name does.
But that one's
and then
different,
it's
right?
very different, and then gets very different. All right, good stuff. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you are here. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. We are there. Just search through his afternoon drive. Do the same thing on TikTok. Then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers afternoon drive.